2022 104.5 The Zone High School Football Media Night presented by Puckett's, as we have 6 of the top coaches, the top programs represented in Middle Tennessee, and the first Friday night in the Volunteer State is just 2 short weeks away. Alongside Lucas Panzica, my name is Will Boling. Grateful to have you with us to begin another year of high school football coverage on The Zone. Robert Walsh is our producer making the show happen. And Lucas, it feels so good to be talking ball with you once again here tonight. How are you?
It does. I am fantastic, Will, because we are looking ahead officially to high school football season in 2022. Kind of like SEC Media Days is that it's here moment for SEC football. That's what this night is for us. Even though we've got 2.5 weeks, we're 2 weeks from Friday away from that first official opener on 104.5 The Zone. Of course, we'll announce that towards the end of the night here. But it's here. Can't wait to dive into some of the 2022 narratives, storylines, and role players for what we're about to experience over the course of the next 15 weeks in Middle Tennessee high school football. And
this is the sound of what Friday nights are going to sound like over the course of this entire fall. Me and you, Robert, making the show happen. Back here, 104.5 The Zone high school football coverage, of course, going until 11 o'clock every single Friday night with a game of the week for every week of the regular season through the playoffs. And tonight, our high school media night. 3rd year we've done this now. 2nd year that you and I have been able to do this, and it is going to be a lot of fun. Also revisiting some of the matchups that we had last year on Friday nights when you and I took to the airwaves for the first time together last fall. We're going to have a lot of home and homes where we're going to be fulfilling the second part of some really good matchups. And, of course, we'll kind of announce those as the season goes.
Yeah, that's going to be fun, especially with some of these local rivalries to kind of build off of what we experienced with those games last year with a lot of the same faces going head-to-head again, just in a different venue. So looking forward to continuing some of those storylines and going to some places that we've never been around the mid-state. That is my favorite part about doing high school football in the state of Tennessee, going places that I have not experienced before, seeing a tailgate spot where maybe they've been grilling out there for the last 50 years that I've never seen before, a student section that I haven't gotten to fully experience. So really looking forward to it starting, again, 2 weeks from Friday.
Of course, tonight's coverage is brought to you by Puckett's, a homegrown company with deep roots in Middle Tennessee. They have long supported events and athletics in the area. You and I just had a pancake with pulled pork on top of it, courtesy of Puckett's, a Middle Tennessee company, a Middle Tennessee special that we have got supporting the beginning of high school football in Middle Tennessee today. So I'm going to be in a little bit of a food coma as well for the next 2 hours because that barbecue is delicious.
Yeah, I really appreciate them hooking us up, hooking up our coaches, our players, any fans, family, friends that are coming tonight. A homegrown company, deep roots in Middle Tennessee, and of course Puckett's has always supported events and athletics in the area, just like high school football.
That's right. So tonight, as we begin 2022 high school football coverage here on 104.5 The Zone, what can you expect? Well, you can expect to hear from teams that have won state championships. You can expect to hear from future players that you're going to be seeing at the next level, playing major Division I college football. And you're going to hear some cool stories of new programs, of classic Middle Tennessee programs, and of some of the best teams, not only in the state of Tennessee, but also in the South, who we're going to hear from coming up here in just a couple of minutes. But we've got 3 state champions out of our 6 teams. And these 6 teams that we have here, Lucas, combined for 68 wins in 2022, or 2021, excuse me. Probably going to be more than that, I would bargain, in 2022. Every single team making it at least to the state quarterfinals or later. And what a lineup we have tonight, hearing from coaches, hearing from players of some of the best programs in the state.
Yeah, we've got teams that have been around, that have been doing it for a while, and we've got teams that have burst onto the scene just in the last few years alone. We're going private, we're going public, across classifications. So for the next 2 hours, and then Tate Mathews at 8:45 to cap things off for us as we announce our Week 1 destination with Tate, who again will be a significant part of our high school football coverage this year.
The one thing that I will say about our Week 1 destination, a classic high school football home in Middle Tennessee. A place that I've experienced and a place that you are going to experience for the first time. So anyone who knows your schedule and your history of calling football in the mid-state can probably guess where we're going. But a different matchup than what we opened with last year. So we will certainly get to that as the show progresses tonight. So let's talk about some of these teams. Let's talk about the specific squads you're going to be hearing from tonight as we give you our schedule for the evening, whether you are hanging out at the house tonight, whether you're one of the teams represented here coming on down to our 104.5 The Zone Performance Studios here on Music Circle. We're going to start in about 10 to 15 minutes with Lipscomb Academy, the defending champions in Division II AA. We are going to hear from head coach Trent Dilfer, and his team, Lucas, starts with 3 of 4 games against out-of-state powerhouses, and they come off a dominant season where their defense really finished off that season so well. You think of Coach Dilfer, you think of Lipscomb Academy, you think of Luther Richson, of Alex Broom, the offense they had last year, but that defense, Lucas, was stingy, and it's a big reason why they won a dominant state championship last year.
And they returned some of those playmakers looking to defend that title. I'm fascinated by the narrative going into this season for Lipscomb Academy. It's not getting to the top of the mountain, it's staying on top of the mountain now in that classification.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And that defense allowed just 14 points in the last 5 games of the year combined en route to a state championship over crosstown rival CPA. Then we hear from Oakland, the longest winning streak in Middle Tennessee right now. They've won 30 in a row, 3 state titles in the last 4 years, including 2 in a row. They've averaged 45 points, Lucas, in those 3 state championship wins.
Yeah, and an interesting offseason for the Oakland Patriots. Quarterback Cade Hewitt returns, but a lot of those faces around him have graduated. They've moved on to college football, the next chapter of their lives. So now Cade has a full offseason as the quarterback of the Oakland Patriots, and he's looking to build that offense around him as a veteran leader. And they're going to keep on winning, but the question is, who's going to step up to help them do that?
And we've got a lot of good quarterbacks that we're going to hear from. Cade is going to be the first quarterback that we hear from coming up at about 25, 30 minutes. We're going to get them on the show here at about 7:30 here tonight. And then after that, we're going to hear from another quarterback, and we go from an established powerhouse program in Middle Tennessee to one of the newcomers in Middle Tennessee, Lucas. The Green Hill Hawks senior quarterback, Cade Mahoney, will be the player that we'll hear from for them.
Yeah, when I talk about programs that have burst onto the scene being here tonight, I am looking directly at Green Hill. What they've done in just 3 years of existence is absolutely remarkable. So looking forward to talking to Cade Mahoney, who returns a lot of the skill players around him. They've got some work to do in the trenches as far as replacing outgoing players. But what the Green Hill Hawks accomplished last year, winning 11 games in a row, getting to a state quarterfinal, winning their region in only their second ever year in high school football in Middle Tennessee, cannot be understated how difficult that is to do. So the Green Hill Hawks will look to repeat that and build off of that as they try to continue to be a mainstay for the future of Middle Tennessee high school football.
I remember talking with Green Hill, with some of their players, with their coach, back in 2020, before that inaugural season. And you could tell that there weren't a lot of specific expectations. It was, we want to establish a brand, we want to establish a culture. And I only imagine what they would have responded with if I had told them then that, hey, you're going to win a region championship in your second year as a program. Got to feel really good if you're a Green Hill Green Hawk fan about where that program is. We're going to hear from offensive coordinator Ben Kuhn, who is going to join us here tonight as well. Another good quarterback, Kenny Minchie. Boy, what a summer this guy has had. A Pittsburgh commitment, pretty good. He's replacing another Kenny, obviously Kenny Pickett, who was at Pittsburgh, now of the Pittsburgh Steelers. But Pope John Paul II has a new head coach. 2006 Pope Prep graduate Brian Sneed replaces Justin Geisinger, who is over at Franklin Road Academy now. But I can imagine that there aren't a lot of first-year coaches with a better quarterback, not just in the state of Tennessee, but in the South, than what Coach Sneed has in Kenny Minchie.
An Elite 11 quarterback. Coach Dilfer knows a little something about that. Kenny Minchie led Pope Prep to their first ever wins over MBA, over Brentwood Academy in the D2 AAA quarterfinals last year. So several milestones for Minchie in his junior season, put up incredible numbers. How does he build off of that? He's made his decision. He's gotten that out of the way going into his senior year of his high school football career. So what other boxes are left to check off for Kenny Minchie? And I'm sure we'll ask him about that.
That'll be the first of 2 Elite 11 quarterbacks that we will hear from tonight. At Ravenwood, the Raptors, Coach Will Hester, quarterback Chris Parson, who came over from Texas last season. We got to call his first game of last year and his last game of last year, opening up the season against MBA, a loss in week 1, but a really, really good effort against a powerhouse Summit Spartans program that finished state runners-up in 6A a season ago. I'm looking forward to hearing from Coach Hester and Chris Parson just to see what the maturation process has been from last year when he was swimming in a new system, trying to get his feet under him, to this year when he's had an entire offseason and a comfortable setting to prepare to be the starting quarterback of a 6A powerhouse in Ravenwood.
Yeah, and that region is so fascinating because when you look at what Summit was able to accomplish last year with a loaded senior class, the Wade twins obviously headlining it, they win that region, and they won it in thrilling fashion. They beat Ravenwood in a playoff game that was so much fun to watch. We did that game
it was great.
Right here on the Zone. Summit running into Oakland in the state championship and falling ultimately, but the program that Summit was able to build kind of culminated under head coach Brian Coleman last year. But now I feel like Ravenwood might feel like it's their chance to take that region back with Chris Parson and Will Hester, who's back for his second year of his second stint at Ravenwood High School.
Going to be a really interesting region to watch there in 6A. Independence and now Alabama commitment. Ty Lockwood also will have something to say about that in Region 7, 6A this upcoming fall. The other defending state champions that we are going to hear from tonight, the Wildcats of Donaldson Christian Academy. DCA coach Paul Wade in that program win their fourth state championship, first since 2004. Running back Ashton Jones is with us here tonight as well. He ran for 1,700 yards a season ago. Coach Wade has coached at a lot of great places in Middle Tennessee. Looking forward to hearing how that program has retooled going into 2022.
Yeah, and Aston Jones, just another in a series of stars at the running back position in that classification. So the D2 single A state champs, as we said, that was one of my favorite games of the year that we did last year, Will, was DCA 7-3 win over Nashville Christian. It was the regular season finale, essentially a region championship game in the rain, in the cold, just a grinded out type of finish to the regular season. And then DCA did something that's very tough to do. They beat their region rival twice on their way to a region and then a state championship.
That was a fun one. That 7-3 game, it just felt like old school, grinded out high school football. It was great. And then you had, after every touchdown, after the big plays in that game, the LED lights at DCA. That is the first time I've seen the LED flashing lights like you have in Neyland Stadium, like you now have in Nissan Stadium. A really, really cool setting. That's also, Lucas, I would say, perhaps the nicest press box, one of the nicest facilities for high school football in Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, we appreciated them having us last year for certain. That is one of the more underrated rivalries, I think, in Middle Tennessee is DCA and Nashville Christian.
So a new year begins here on 104.5 The Zone for high school football. And Lucas, you and I get to talk about a lot of different things. We've been at Titans training camp. We get to do a UT podcast. We've been around Nashville soccer as that has grown. But this is always, I tell people this all the time, my favorite thing to be involved in at 104.5 The Zone, because high school football and this coverage and these games is so special to this community. I've grown up in it. You've spent a lot of time around it as well as a member of this community and as a person that cares a lot about Tennessee and about Nashville. But there's something about the Friday nights. There's something about these communities going up against one another, two small towns battling it out that share a couple of interstate exits over from each other here in Middle Tennessee. There's just something special about high school football, and this community certainly, I think, loves it as much as we do.
Yeah, and what I love about it is that you have all those aspects of high school football that make it what you love. One of those sports that you feel like is still so pure to its core, but at the same time, the quality of it continues to get better and better. They say a rising tide lifts all boats, right? That certainly applies to Tennessee high school football with the talent that you're seeing now in the Middle Tennessee area, and yet you still have these small town feel and rivalry matchups that will just never go away despite the talent continuing to increase, kind of getting the best of both worlds, both in the public and private sector.
It was really fun last year having the talent that we had sitting with us here at this table. Of course, Oakland running back Jordan James was with us last year.
Yeah.
You know, we had Destin and Keaton Wade before they headed off to the University of Kentucky to play for Mark Stoops. Marcel Reed.
NBA, who has another year left, of course.
That's right. He'll be a senior this year. That is bad news for fans of other Division II AAA schools around Middle Tennessee. Marcel Reed committing to Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss this past summer. Then we also had CPA. We had Langston Patterson that was hanging out with us, who's going to Vanderbilt and is going to play with his brother Kane, who now transfers from Clemson. It has been so cool to watch, obviously, the growth of this city. But as this city has grown, the small towns, the areas right around Nashville, every county has benefited from the growth of the city of Nashville. And high school football is just one of those things, continues to get bigger and better, faster and stronger. It's been so fun to watch over the course of these last couple of years doing this on the zone.
So several programs have a lot of turnover, like CPA, a lot of rebuilding to do around the state. And then there's other programs, like we mentioned, MBA, who brings back their starting quarterback in Marcel Reed. Some programs, though, are kind of in the middle there, where they're replacing key positions but are fully expected to remain a contender. And one of those programs will lead us off here tonight as Lipscomb Academy head coach Trent Dilfer is in the building here at the 104.5 The Zone studios as we continue our 2022 high school football media night on 104.5 The Zone, presented by Puckett's Grocery. So our first school will be the defending champion Lipscomb Academy Bison. Coming up next on 104.5 The Zone. 4-5 The Zone's 2022 High School Football Media Night presented by Puckett's Grocery. Puckett's Southern staples and famous barbecue are favorites for locals and visitors alike. Recently named in Travel Await's top 10 best barbecue restaurants in the U.S., and they look forward to offering a taste of Tennessee to all high school football fans, and we appreciate them feeding us here tonight at the 104.5 The Zone studios. Lucas Panzica, Will Boling with you, Robert Walsh, our producer, and we lead off with Lipscomb Academy head coach Trent Dilfer going into his fourth season as the head coach of the Mustangs. Now, Coach, I ended the last segment calling you guys the Bison, so we're off to a roaring start here.
That's the university.
That's right.
That's right.
We're the Mustangs. That's okay.
It's okay. We'll forgive
One
him for
institution, two names. It is kind of confusing.
Well, talking to you and your team throughout the course of the last season, we were lucky enough to cover one of your regular season games. It was very easy to see where the motivation was coming from, just in how the 2020 season ended in that state championship game. Well, now you're state champs, and there's some new faces and some very critical positions. So what's been the biggest challenge in shifting that mentality from trying to get to the top now to staying at the top?
That's a great question. It's actually been way more challenging. Sorry, is my mic working? Feels like it's
Yeah, we got you.
Okay. We were so hungry last year losing the way we did in the state championship game. It's easy to motivate kids, coaches, community when they have a chip on their shoulder. When you win and you lose, and let's not forget this, we lose 24 seniors, but more importantly, we lose about 5,500 yards in offense, 80-plus touchdowns. Defensively, 26 turnovers, 5 defensive scores, 4 special teams touchdowns. I can go on and on and on. Guys playing at Stanford and Boston College and Cincinnati, and guys will probably start as freshmen at their university. So that's what we're losing, and they're kind of smelling their you-know-whats. You know what I mean? It's like they're feeling themselves a little bit. So luckily we caught it early in the offseason. We've been very honest and straightforward with them of what the challenges are. The target is on our back. People love to blow smoke around us, tell us how good we are. And we've had to make it very clear that this is an inexperienced team that really hasn't earned it. In fact, we brought the entire team up and I said, okay, so when we beat so-and-so, raise your hand if you played more than 10 snaps. Like 6 hands go up.
Wow.
All right, so when we go to Oakland and lose to Oakland, we play in this great game. How many of you played more than 20 snaps? 7 hands go up. I'm like, so really, if we're talking about this, so last year's team, there's like 6 or 7 of you that really were difference makers on that team. So there's 35 of you that we're asking to contribute that really just wore a jersey. And you practiced hard. Now you contributed, you're part of it, you get the ring, and you helped us get what we got, but you really didn't do it on 3rd and 8 versus a 5-man rush and have to sift to pass protection and communicate at the line of scrimmage. You really didn't have to stand up in the pocket. You didn't have to catch a dig route with the safety about to hit you. You didn't have to step up in the hole and hit one of the best backs in the country. Like, you didn't actually do that. So what are we going to do this offseason to make sure you can do that when we go down to Milton, when we go to Thompson, when Calvert Hall comes to us, when we play our regional games? Like, which ones of you guys have it in you to speed up your learning process an entire year so you're ready week 1? And that's really been the challenge.
I'm ready to suit up. That's a pretty good, pretty good way to start right there. I like it. Coach Trent Dilfer hanging out with us here on 104.5 The Zone High School Football Media Night. Coach, the jerseys, the atmosphere, the hype videos, you guys are a really fun program to get to watch. When did you kind of get that moment to kind of reflect on that season and take a step back and just kind of think to yourself, man, that was really fun? How long did it take for you to kind of give yourself a little bit of time off after that state championship win last year?
Yeah, I don't. I hope our community did. I think it's a blessing and a curse. My personality is I don't have a rearview mirror. I haven't in my life enjoyed the things that I probably should enjoy, but it also helps me get through the things that are painful, that are, setbacks. I literally did not. I mean, we played the game, went home that night, celebrated. I mean, the next week I was on to the next season. I had rosters and, depth charts and stuff going. By December 10th, I had our off-season program written out. So, it's probably not healthy. I'm not saying it's healthy,
Sure.
But it's who I've been my whole career. And my mentors have told me when I went into coaching that, be who you are. Don't try to be somebody else. So that's who I am. I don't enjoy it. But the same way when we got beat by CPA in 21 in the finals, my food sucked. My wife was ugly. I didn't like my kids for like 24 hours. And then everything was back to normal.
Yeah.
Just like it was in the NFL. In the NFL, it was, Sunday nights are horrible. Monday's the worst day of the week, whether you win or lose. But by Monday night, you better reset and move on because I got the game plan for the next week. And that's kind of my mindset. So about December 10th, 11th, 12th, somewhere in there, my off-season program was rolling. My coordinators had the plan. Our strength and conditioning coaches had the plan. We had our academic plan laid out. We had, getting rid of this, adding that offensively. Defensively is what we're going to do this year. We're moving on. So when our kids came back from Christmas break, we wanted to hit it full steam ahead.
So let's talk about this season and this team. And I want to start with your quarterback, Hank Brown, who 6 games last year, 223 yards, a pair of touchdowns, completed 62% of his passes. How much did he learn watching Luther Richardson run your offense last year? How excited are you for him to get his opportunity this upcoming fall?
I couldn't be more excited. We were so lucky to have Luther for 3 years. He's an incredible human. I said it all last year. When your best people are your best players, Luther and Alex, Sam Roush, you're not going to lose. I kind of knew that when you had Sam and Alex and Luther. But I think Hank was able to watch what a pro Luther was. And to Hank's credit, my backup doesn't get reps in practice. 0. Like we'll go 14 weeks and the backup quarterback's not going to get a starting rep. Now he's got to get reps in show team. He's got to take advantage of individual period. He's got to maximize meeting time. And Hank did all those things. And on Thursday afternoon when I meet with him and I would give the game plan to Luther and be like, okay, and everybody knows, these other coaches here, we have 8 billion things on offense. And I get him the play sheet and I'm like, okay, Luther, black, here's a Sharpie, here's a blue highlighter, here's a yellow highlighter. Like Sharpie, the stuff you don't want, blue, the stuff you like, yellow we can talk about. And nothing ever got Sharpied. Everything was blue. And he's like, call the whole thing. And Hank saw that. And by the end of the year, Hank's whole sheet was blue. And I'd quiz him and I'd be like, okay, you're telling me you've never gotten a rep on this, ever. You don't have a 7-on-7 rep. You haven't got a show team rep, but you think you can go run this play. Go up on the board and coach it up. And he got up on the board and coached it up perfectly. I'm like, okay, this guy's a pro. He had a great offseason. He's super talented. He's very much like Luther. He's got great poise. He's got great demeanor. He's a better athlete than people think. So we're really excited about him. And I love how he approached the offseason. What the best story I tell about Hank Brown is he came from us, his family, his dad opened an office down in Nashville last summer. And that's what brought the family down from Chicago. And he was on our campus for about 10 days. And we did a Google form random captain's vote. We just wanted to get a feel as a team, like who does his team think the leaders are? And he's been there for 10 days, and we had 17 people get votes. And you can imagine Luther, Alex, they're dominating the front end of the votes. But 17 out of, 73 varsity players get votes. Hank Brown gets 10. He's been on campus for 10 days. He's the backup quarterback, and he gets 10 votes. And we're like, okay, we have something there. Father Ryan, Luther's sick. We're scrimmaging Father Ryan last year. We find out that Luther can't play at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on the scrimmage day. On Friday, we announced it in pregame meal. I throw him the ball. He goes out and throws for 370. I'm like, okay, I think we might have a quarterback here. So he's handled the offseason great. He's handled his teammates well. He's one of our core leaders, and we're really excited about the things he can do.
So Hank Brown steps in for Luther Richardson, of course, now at Cincinnati as Lipscomb Academy Mustangs head coach Trent Dilfer with us on 104.5 The Zone. Alex Broom, now a Boston College Eagle. Who are some of the names that we should know as far as guys that need to step into that role and fill some very big shoes? We saw one of his best performances of the year last year against CPA. Absolutely electric. So who are the first names that we should be thinking about when we do a Lipscomb Academy game this year?
Yeah, we have 2 really young, talented backs. They're both sophomores, Drew Patterson and Micah Burton. Both very similar backs, big backs, 6 feet tall, 190, 195 pounds, fast, powerful, really good hands, very good in pass protection, smart kids, great competitors, inexperienced. I would say from a talent standpoint, they both kind of look like Jordan James did as a sophomore. I remember scrimmage against Jordan when he was at BA as a sophomore. And, I just got into coaching. I'd seen Texas 6A football, so I kind of knew what backs look like. And as he's running our guys over, I'm like, okay, he's going to play in the SEC. And my coach's like, you don't even know his name. I'm like, I don't care. That kid's going to play in the SEC. That was pretty obvious as a sophomore. Both these backs look like Jordan did as a sophomore. They're very physical. They're very talented kids. They work very hard. So we'll be by committee. They're competing for the most carries, but they're neck and neck. So they're both going to get the ball and both have a lot of opportunities. And I'm always going to run the ball. Like people, I'd show the teams we play my game plan. They're not going to be able to figure it out anyways. But we're going to run the football. People think we want to throw it over the yard. At the end of the day, you look at the best coaches who are sitting back there coming up to speak next. They've won championships multiple times because they run the football. I was lucky enough to hire Middle Tennessee coaches my first year, and they said you win state championships by running the rock and dominating the line of scrimmage. You can't tell. You don't know what the weather's going to be like. I don't care how good your quarterback is. I don't care how good your receivers are. You better run the football. So we're going to run the football. Two guys are going to get it. We have a massive, massive offensive line. And we're really going to try to control the line of scrimmage and give those two backs the opportunity to be like Alex.
He is Trent Dilfer, the head coach of the Lipscomb Academy Mustangs. They opened their season August 19th at Milton High School in Georgia before heading to Thompson, Alabama to take on the Warriors and then coming back to start league play at home September 2nd against Good Pasture. Coach Dilfer, thank you so much for coming by tonight. Appreciate you. Can't wait to watch you guys this year.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, Trent Dilfer with us on 104.5 The Zone.
A pretty good start, I would say, right there, Lucas, and a good preview of what is to come for the Mustangs this season. As coming up here in just a moment, Coach Kevin Creasy is going to come up and make his way to our stage here in our 104.5 The Zone Performance Studio. But, Lucas, you mentioned the game against Milton. Three-time defending state champion Thompson on August the 27th. That one is a part of the Geico ESPN High School Football Kickoff. Calvert Hall, I don't know how familiar you are with them out of Maryland, an absolute powerhouse that is going to be coming here to Nashville. I think that is certainly one of the toughest 3-game stretches out of 4 weeks that you could possibly imagine for a Tennessee high school football program. And we're looking forward to following the Mustangs as they try to defend that title, Division II AA, which is, again, going to be a really entertaining division to watch in 2022.
Yeah, and an interesting schedule caveat as they bookend their regular season with 2 road games to start the year and to finish the year. So 6 straight home games and what's become a really nice home field advantage over there at Lipscomb Academy, as the source of Lipscomb Academy's only loss from the 2021 season joins us now as Oakland head coach Kevin Creasy sits down. Now, I know you guys scrimmaged a couple of weeks ago, maybe just a few days ago, and word on the street is, Coach, that you ended up tying. So there couldn't be like a game of rock, paper, scissors. Coach Dilfer said maybe y'all could have played some cornhole, something to get out of there with the winner.
Well, it was just a 7-on-7, so it was one-hand touch. It wasn't really football, but it was a heck of a competition, 19-19, and like I said, it ended with a tie. It's kind of like kissing your sister.
I love it. Well, 30-game winning streak for your program, Coach. Oakland Patriots, 6A state champions in 2021, a 43-26 win over Summit. When you reflect on last year's season, on last year's team, we're going to talk about some of the new faces you guys have around your quarterback, Cade Hewitt, who is here with us. What was the thing that you looked the most fondly on of last year? What excited you the most about the step your program took forward in 2021?
Well, we knew how difficult it was to go back to back. It's only been done one time in Rutherford County, and that was back when Smyrna went back to back in, I think, 07, 08. And, of course, they had a heck of a team, a heck of a senior class. And we knew it was going to be a challenge, and we didn't want our guys to, just think everybody was going to roll over and give it to us. And so we had a heck of a schedule, a very tough regular season schedule. And then, of course, COVID was still an issue, so we had a couple cancellations and picked up, like I said, Lipscomb, and had a great game with those guys on a Thursday night. But all those tough games kind of helped us in the playoffs make a good playoff run. Had a huge road win at Lebanon, and we're expecting those guys to be a really talented team this year. A bunch of juniors on the Lebanon team, and they're all coming back as seniors. And of course, Maryville going on the road and winning at Maryville was the first time in this millennium that they had lost. So
that's right.
They hadn't lost a home playoff game in over like 22 years, and to go on the road and win that one, that was huge. And then of course, Williamson County always sends a very tough opponent to play in the state championship. So the two brothers that played and later signed with Kentucky, they were the real deal. It was not just hype. They were probably 2 of the best players we've ever seen since we've been at Oakland.
Yeah, it was a really fun game. Jordan James, the star of that game, 232 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. He is now an Oregon Duck. Isaiah Horton is in Miami. Antonio Patterson is at Florida International. You guys lost a lot from last year's team. Who are some of those new faces? Who has stepped up in a big way this offseason to fill those guys' shoes?
Well, those are definitely big shoes to fill.
That's right.
So it's going to be tough to fill them completely, but we do have some younger guys that are doing a good job of trying to take their place. And Khalil James is the guy that comes to mind first. Khalil had a lot of playing time last year and made some really big plays for us. No relation to Jordan James, but Khalil's one of the fastest guys on our team. Tamari Hill's a sophomore that's getting a lot of playing time. State qualifier as a freshman in track and field. So we're a little bit smaller this year, but we will have a little bit more speed. And so it's definitely a good 1-2 punch with those two in the backfield. And we've got some other guys that are kind of competing, to get touches. And so we're looking at kind of going running back by committee there early on. The guy that was going to tote the rock for us, Eric Taylor, suffered an injury during spring practice. And maybe during the middle of the season we should get Eric back. But Eric's one of those guys, he could play 100 snaps every Friday night and be fine with it. We just hope he, recovers pretty quickly with his injury and gets back to 100%.
Fun to watch on the defensive side of the ball as well. Eric Taylor was flying around in that state championship game against Summit. And Khalil James, you mentioned him, 515 total yards, 6 touchdowns last year, taking on a bigger role here in 2022. But, Coach, as we talk about the 30-game win streak and 3 championships in 4 years, and your last loss was November 29th, 2019, those words sound a lot like the rat poison Nick Saban's always talking about. What's your approach with your players when it comes to hearing about those accomplishments? Do you try to kind of embrace it and highlight it with them, or is it more of it trying to ignore that stuff and just keep plugging along?
We always warn about guys that are slapping you on the back, telling you how good you are. A lot of times those same guys will be the one that throw you under the bus whenever things don't go well. So we're just as good as we were, just as good as we could be the last Friday night. They only remember that last Friday night. Now it's been a while since we played, so we've definitely humbled our guys a lot in the weight room. We brought up some things like Coach Dilfer was talking about. There's a lot of guys that, was on the practice squad. There was a lot of guys that got a ring, but maybe their biggest accomplishment was they were on the kickoff team. So we're going to have a lot of inexperienced guys out there, a lot of young guys, and they got a great opportunity, and we don't really talk about, preseason polls and things like that, but we do talk about the ending of the season. How do you want to be remembered? How do you want to end this season? And how do you want the guys that came before you to think about your team? And so there is a lot of pressure that goes with that, and it's a pretty, high-pressure job that I got, but it's a high-pressure job that those guys have as well. There's a lot of high expectations for our team, and, if we don't make the playoffs, it'll be a very disappointing year. If we get beat in the second round, it'd be a very disappointing year. For a lot of guys, that'd be a great season, but our seniors understand that the guys that came before them have set the pedestal high, and for them to reach it, it's going to take a long regular season, and we've got a lot of tough lessons along the way, and who knows, maybe the win streak can end. But as long as we keep playing tough opponents and we learn from it every week, it's going to be beneficial.
Well, and Cade Hewitt, your starting quarterback, will have a lot to do with that, so we'll go ahead and bring Cade up here to our podium now. Coach, thanks so much for the time. Looking forward to seeing you guys this year. The Oakland Patriots opening up August 19th at home against Hendersonville.
That's right. The Commandos coming to town should be a really good matchup. I failed to mention that we have got a big Oakland high school graduate that works with us every single day, the executive producer of Titans Radio, Rhett Bryan, today. His face lit up like a Christmas tree when he found out that the Oakland Patriots would be represented here tonight at High School Football Media Night.
A proud Oakland graduate is Rhett Bryan. So Cade Hewitt joins us now, the quarterback of the Oakland Patriots. Cade, how are you, man?
I'm good. Just out here, I guess, speaking for Oakland.
Yeah, man. Just talk to us about what needs to change here. I know we were talking before we came on the air about how different this offseason has been for you. It's your first full offseason as an Oakland quarterback. So what needs to change about your role now as you move forward, maybe with some more sure footing within this program, but with a lot of new faces around you?
Well, I think with the role I had last year, I had a lot of big guys, big names, and kind of took some pressure off of me. But I think now coming back, being a senior, being a leader, just trying to fill some of that the role from those big guys leaving.
How much more confident, Cade, do you feel in knowing this offense and knowing your role at Oakland this week as opposed to this time last year?
Oh man, it's been a big difference. Learning Oakland, that wing tee, just everything. It's been a lot different than what I was used to before, and um, I think I've gotten a lot better. There's definitely a lot of room to improve, but you know, besides that, just growing overall, learning the offense, understanding, what happens on this, what happens on that. If this happens in the game, how do I respond? Certain things like that.
I imagine that's got to be a very difficult offense to learn so quickly. Was there one game last year where it feel like things kind of clicked for you when the offense kind of started slowing down for you and make more sense?
Game plan obviously changes every week, and so learning from each game. I don't think there was really a single game that was just like, okay, yeah, I understand more. Playoffs was definitely a big run for us, and I think that was when I kind of started to show that, it looked like I understood more than I did, week 1, week 3, stuff like that.
We were talking about some of those weapons you had. You mentioned the running backs, the Horton, the James, some of those guys that were in there. Coach Creasy told us about Khalil James also is going to have a really big role in this offense. Who is somebody that we're not talking about, someone we haven't mentioned, who you feel like has really had a good offseason, who's really stepped up that you're going to be relying on this season?
We got big guys on defense. Corey, he's coming back. He was a sophomore last year. He'll be a junior. We've got some younger guys on the offensive linemen. My brother being one of them, my left tackle. We have Quincy Jackson. He's stepped up some, and at wide receiver, we've got a lot of young guys in the backfield on defense too. So it's just trying to fill as much as we can.
Cade Hewitt led the Oakland Patriots to another state championship last season, and he returns as the starting quarterback for 2022. Cade, thanks so much for the time and coming by tonight, man. 2.5 weeks away. You guys ready to roll against Hendersonville?
Yes, sir. Just, trying to take advantage of all the time we got, and, you're never ready till that first snap, and then, everything's real. It's go time.
It is go time. Cade, thanks so much for the time.
Yes, sir.
All right, he is Cade Hewitt of the Oakland Patriots.
2 programs down, Lucas, 4 more to go, and we will continue coming up here in just a couple of minutes after a short break with the Green Hill Hawks, and I'm looking forward to talking with them. A huge season for them a season ago that ends in a quarterfinal loss to Page, but the first region title, an 11-game winning streak, and a really terrific 2021. And I know they've got a lot of big names back from that team a season ago ready to continue on that success in 2022.
What a story Green Hill has been for high school football in Middle Tennessee. Their offensive coordinator is in the house. Ben Kuhn is here. A huge thanks to our guy, our zone teammate, Christian Capozzi.
That's right.
Now the SID at Green Hill High School. We will talk to the Hawks and quarterback Cade Mahoney as well on the other side. It's the 2022 High School Football Media Night presented by Puckett's Grocery on 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back. It's 104.5 The Zone's 2022 High School Football Media Night presented by Puckett's Grocery. Will Boling, Lucas Panzica with you from the 104.5 The Zone studios. Filled out pretty nicely here in our Zone Performance studio. We appreciate everybody, fans, friends, family, for coming by and hanging out with us as we preview the start of the 2022 season. So, Will, up next, we talk to the Green Hill Hawks, one of the coolest stories in recent Middle Tennessee high school football history.
Year number 2 for them last year, Lucas, and they win a region championship, 11 consecutive wins in the middle of the season. I really think that was the story of 2021 high school football, certainly one of the 2 or 3 best stories that we had in Middle Tennessee, and we are pleased to be joined by quarterback Tate Mahoney coming up in a minute. Offensive coordinator Ben Kuhn sits down with us first. And, Coach, I'm sure it has been a whirlwind of a summer with the expectations after last season, but I know you guys are really excited to get back on the field.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. It was really fun, starting a program. And kind of like we were talking about a few minutes ago, we had first practices in a parking lot. And then, last year picked to go 3-7 and win the region our first year and won. And, now people are, picking us to go, almost undefeated this year. So, we tell our kids all the time, pressure's a privilege. It's awesome to be where we're at and have the things expected of us. But, it just comes down to we just have to perform when it's time to perform is really what it is right now.
If I'm not mistaken, Coach, every opponent you guys faced in 2021 was your first ever meeting with that opponent. And you averaged 36 points per game on your way to a region title against region opponents. So how difficult will that be to replicate the second time around against these teams?
Well, it'll be difficult. We have a great region. There's some great teams in our region. But, the nice thing for us is skill player-wise, everybody came back this year. Cade Mahoney's here. He led us last year at quarterback, and it's another year with him at the helm. And, we've got some great guys, Caleb Carver, Sean Aldridge, Ryan Holler, and we've got some guys that can make plays, and they've made plays for us in key situations. So, we're a lot of experience coming back, and, we're excited about that on offense.
Besides practicing in parking lots, what is the biggest challenge that you guys had to face over the course of the last 3 years that you are thankful is no longer a part of your daily schedule?
Starting out a new program, you're kind of fighting for respect a little bit. You're fighting for people to take you seriously. And, that's something, with, the year we had last year, I think we, kind of, put ourselves on the map a little bit. And, that means, like we said earlier, pressure is going to be a real thing for us this year. And so, we're not, that underdog anymore. People are going to give us their best shot, which, is great. We're excited about that. It's a challenge. And, we plan to rise to that challenge every Friday night.
One of the coolest parts about high school football, specifically in this area, the traditions, the things that people have been doing for years and years, but starting traditions, beginning that culture has got to be something that's really fun. How much did you guys kind of enjoy that challenge of trying to start traditions and start things that you hope carry on for years and years to come at Green Hill High School?
Yeah, that was one of the cool things when, me and head coach Josh Crouch sat down and really talked about starting this program is we can do whatever we want. There's no traditions. And so one of the big things for us is whoever wears the number 20. It's a different guy every year because we opened up in 2020. So 20 is a special number for us. And so every year we select the kid that, really exemplifies Green Hill football, and they get to wear 20. And, this year it's going to be our starting running back, Brax Lamberth, who, just a team guy, great in the classroom, great on the field, just an awesome kid. And that's one of the cool traditions we do. A lot of colleges do stuff like that, but 20 is one of the biggest traditions we have that we kind of started up when we got started.
So we're going to hear from your quarterback, senior Cade Mahoney, here in just a minute. Completed 60% of his passes last year, over 1,800 yards, 23 touchdowns, runs for 352 and 3 touchdowns. If you're giving us a scouting report on Cade Mahoney, where does that evaluation begin for you?
Cade's what makes everything click for us. He's kind of the cornerstone of our offense. As he goes, we go. And, Cade, this offseason, Cade put a lot of time in the offseason, studying the offense, learning the nuances of it, learning kind of, what I'm trying to get him to do. And it really starts with him. And, Cade had a great year last year, and I expect those numbers, he'll eclipse those pretty quick this year. We've opened up our offense a lot more than we were last year. Last year we were a little more grounded pound, and we've kind of opened it up a little bit with some different things, and I think the numbers are going to reflect big time with what Cade can do this year.
The Green Hill Hawks opening up their season August 19th at Siegel before taking on Kenwood and then diving into region play against Wilson Central, a Wilson County matchup September 2nd. Coach, last thing for you before we let you go here. Your calling plays on offense. Done a great job of it, especially with the success you guys had last season. But defensively, who's been the biggest nuisance for you to deal with in practices leading up to the 2022 season?
Oh, man. Well, we do a lot of best on best, so our best offense against our best defense. And, we've had a couple of D linemen that have really stood out this offseason. Kel Burrows is one of them. He played linebacker for us last year, and we moved him down to D line. And he's been a pain in the butt, pretty much the entire year. I mean, he's really made it tough on us. And then we've got, Gabe March back at free safety, who's a young guy, played a little bit last year, but he does a great job covering the entire field. And those two have really stood out. And then not to mention, Nico Duffy, who's probably one of the absolute better players that I've coached against is on the defensive side. He also plays running back for us, but, he's everywhere. Plays a little outside linebacker, little middle linebacker. I mean, he's a dude, too, on our defense for sure.
He is offensive coordinator Ben Kuhn of the Green Hill Hawks of Region 5-5A. Coach, thanks so much for the time. Good luck to you guys in 2.5 weeks.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Coach.
Coach Kuhn and quarterback Cade Mahoney is on deck for the Green Hill Hawks, and we'll get Cade up here right now as he gets ready to return after completing 137 of his 228 pass attempts in 2021. That's 60% of his passes for over 1,800 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. Toss in nearly 300 rush yards and 3 scores on the ground in 2021. Cade Mahoney joins us on 104.5 The Zone. Cade, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing fantastic, man. Appreciate you joining us.
No problem.
Man, you return all the skill talent that we're talking about with Coach Kuhn. Brax Lambert at running back, over 1,500 yards last year. Caleb Carver at receiver. Braden Staton at tight end. All these pieces to replace, though, on the offensive line. How much of a luxury has it been to work with those guys at the skill position while simultaneously getting to know the big guys up front?
It's been a pleasure working with all of them. We did lose a lot of guys on the offensive line, which was a key part of us and how we ran the ball a lot. We know we have new guys stepping up to the plate, trying to fill their shoes, and having pretty much all of our skill players come back and how they put up big numbers last year. I mean, it's gonna be a good season.
I imagine a quarterback's best friend, aside from that offensive line, is having a running back like Brax Lambert, who you get to share that backfield with. How close are you with him? How much fun has it been to kind of build this thing from the ground up with him by your side?
Oh, it's been a blast. Brax Lambert is one of the best dudes I know. Very humble dude. Hits the ground running. I mean, in the weight room pretty much every day. Strongest dude I've probably ever seen on the team. I'm not sure how much yards he ran for, but whenever he runs, he runs hard and physical. He's not going to go down on the first tackle, that's for sure.
So you guys last year, you open up the season a 29-21 loss to Siegel in week 1. Then you win 11 straight games. You win your region in Region 5-5A. When did you know that this team could be something special? Because there are not a lot of programs in their second ever seasons that are going on a run like that.
Coach Crouch said even before the season had started, if there's a team that can do it, it'll be us. And we kind of just stuck to him and stuck what he had brought into the team. And we just really went with him, what he had did for us and stuff like that. And, we just did our job.
So we mentioned some of the big names that you guys have coming back, some of your targets. Who has impressed you through camp over the course of this summer, maybe the spring? Who have we not talked about that has stepped up in a big way that you're going to be relying on this year?
Sean Aldridge. Sean Aldridge is a outside receiver. He probably one of the most underrated receivers in Middle Tennessee. He's fast, he's physical, and he's going to pretty much catch everything you throw towards him. Another one's probably Ryan Holler. He's also an outside receiver, and he's also going to go up and catch anything you throw towards him, and that's pretty much it.
Sean Aldridge, last season, 33 catches, 462 yards, and 5 touchdowns. So talking to y'all's SID, Christian Capozzi, he gave us this really cool nugget that your uncle is BYU legend Ty Detmer, and you were training with him a little bit in the offseason. I mean, talk about a resource. Heisman Trophy winner, NFL veteran, former offensive coordinator, play caller at BYU. What's that experience been like, training with your uncle? What have you been able to kind of glean from him?
It's a good experience. I have a lot of things people don't have access for, and being able to train with him and go over stuff that he already knows, like defenses and like where to go, what kind of reads to make and stuff like that. It's a blast to work with him. He's a cool dude.
Last thing for me, Cade, what's the number one thing for you to work on between now and August 19th when you guys take on Siegel? What's at the top of your mind individually?
Individually, I'd say probably just run game. I'd say run game is going to be a big play in this year's season, and I'd say mental game. Mental game, just going here, still having that same chip on the shoulder that we had last year. I know we had a big season last year, and nothing really changes. We're still the team that second year going into it and stuff like that. So I say just keep the mental game strong and keep pushing forward.
Cade Mahoney, quarterback of the Green Hill Hawks, opening up their season August 19th at Siegel. Cade, thanks so much, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you for having me.
All right, good luck this season. So that is Green Hill on 104.5 The Zone.
I love it. And we are halfway home, Lucas. 3 programs down that we have talked to and 3 more to go. And coming up next after the break, we talk with the Knights of Pope John Paul II, head coach Brian Sneed in his first season, quarterback Kenny Minchie. Really excited to talk with the Knights representing Division II AAA here tonight at 104.5 The Zone High School Media Night. And so cool to just hear the different perspectives, the different stories over this offseason for a lot of these programs.
Right. Returning quarterback Kenny Minchie will play obviously a big role, the Pittsburgh commit for Pope Prep, and Brian Sneed, a 2006 graduate of JP2, leading the way for the first year as a head coach. Hour number 2 of 104.5 The Zone's 2022 High School Football Media Night presented by Puckett's Grocery coming up next.
of the official kickoff of 2022 high school football in Middle Tennessee. Welcome back to 104.5 The Zone's High School Football Media Night. I'm Will Boling along with Lucas Panzica. Our coverage tonight is brought to you by Puckett's, who now ships their slow smoked meats and fan favorite signature sides nationwide through Gold Belly. This is a perfect opportunity to share your favorite barbecue with friends or family who do not live near a Puckett restaurant. Visit goldbelly.com for more details. We've talked with 3 programs, Lucas. We have 3 more to go, and we will begin hour number 2 with the Knights of Pope Prep in Division II AAA.
8-5 last season. Season came to an end in the D2 AAA state semifinal at McCauley, and they open up the season at Hillsboro 2.5 weeks from today.
And we are pleased to be joined by first-year head coach of the Knights, Brian Sneed, a graduate of Pope John Paul II. Coach, great to have you with us tonight. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having us.
What has this offseason been like, your first year taking over for Justin Geisinger as this program's head coach? I know you all very close. You've worked with this program that is your alma mater for a long time. But what has this offseason been like as you get ready for week 1?
Well, I think it's been more of just keeping our standard. We talk about choose the shield a lot, and our guys know that, and it's one of the things that has helped elevate our program over the last few years. And so just kind of keeping the consistency of this is how our program got to the state semifinals and raise our level, and we're just going to keep the consistency of our offense, our defense. We promoted Coach Carpenter, outside linebackers coach, to defensive coordinator. Coach Park, our quarterbacks coach from last year, to offensive coordinator, and just keep the momentum going from where we had it.
We just talked with Green Hill High School and talked to them about building a program from the ground up and a brand new school, a brand new football program. You've been able to watch Pope John Paul II and Pope Prep football grow as a 2006 grad. How cool has it been to watch this program, watch athletics, the entire institution that you guys have kind of grow since you were there?
Oh, it's been unbelievable, and it's fun to go back and we're in the locker room that I played in and sat in, and we got guys coming back now, alums that have played for over the past 20 years and coming back and saying hello and seeing where the program has gone. We had a fast start to our program. Golden Tate came through and kind of got us up to speed there, and then we had a little bit of a drought. We had 10 years going on where we didn't have a winning season, and so I think when Coach Geis took over and then brought me on, we were trying to figure out how can we get out of that drought, and one of the things we stumbled upon was just kind of the idea of the process and what we talk about, like I said, choosing the shield and that mindset of, and we talked a lot about with our guys today. It's each individual play is its own life, and you got to make sure that you are attacking that individual play with everything you have, and that's what we call the choose the shield mindset. And then when that one's done, now you go back and start over and do it again. And that's kind of helped us over the past 6 or 7 years kind of get out of that rut and kind of be in the position that we are today.
Head coach Brian Sneed of Pope Prep with us on 104.5 The Zone. Coach, for the second straight year, you take on Ravenwood and Independence out of Region 7-6A. You split those matchups last year, some high-scoring games. Mm-hmm. Where does your team benefit the most from going up against those guys?
Well, you want to have those tough non-region games to prepare you for the region, right? So we're going into the playoffs, and our region we feel like is pretty tough, and you're going up against some great talent in Independence and Ravenwood. And it's a kind of our early gut check and figure out where our team is at the time. How are we going to, do into the playoffs against, D2 AAA teams? And those guys provide a great test for us to figure out where we are. And then, you look at the star power on the field, right? Of you got 4-star recruits on both sides of the ball, and it's a fun atmosphere to be a part of and an experience that I think our guys love being in.
Well, one of those guys, those 4-star recruits you're talking about, your quarterback, Kenny Minchie, who we're about to talk to here in a moment. But I want to ask you about 2 of the guys he's going to have to get the football to this year in the duo of Colin Cook and junior running back Elijah Robb. Both over 1,000 yards, 14-plus touchdowns last year. Bringing back experience and production, where can those guys take their game to the next level?
Well, I think first of all, with Colin, I think the chemistry that Kenny and Colin have is undeniable, right? So they both have a great knack of knowing exactly where each other's going to be and getting the ball in the right spot. And so just doing more of the same for those guys. I mean, there's nothing more we have to do, right? It's just continuing to refine and what we've been doing and continue just to get a little bit better here and there. And then with Elijah, I mean, 1,000-yard rusher a season ago. I think he's obviously continuing to improve. He was a sophomore last year. But also, I think Coach Parker, offensive coordinator, is doing a good job of kind of opening up his skill set. You know, he's a great pass catcher. He can get out of the backfield. I think that's going to really help stretch the defenses that we see this year, to be able to not only be able to hand the ball inside to him, but be able to get him out in the route concepts and really stretch the defense horizontally.
I imagine a lot of first-year head coaches would love to have a guy with the talent of Kenny Minchie at the quarterback position like you do. Where have you seen him take the biggest step forward since he was thrust into that starting role in 2020?
I think the just talking and communicating. No, we talk about a lot about in our program. Encourage the guys around you. Make sure that you are, elevating the people around you. And you can see that coming out. He's kind of a quiet, reserved guy. He's down to business a lot. He's making sure that he's, doing the right things and preparing the way he needs to prepare. And we saw that, even before he was a starter, just sitting back there and taking mental reps and going through all his reads. And so when he came in, everyone thought he just burst on the scenes. Like he had been preparing for that moment for all season up until that point. What I'm seeing now is he's communicating better with our team. He not just in the play call, not just in the moment on the field, but when we're stretching, when we're in the locker room, when he's coaching guys up in film, all those things that you want your leader at quarterback to be able to do, and not just under the lights on Friday night, but in all those moments in between, that's just going to help our team camaraderie that much more.
Between now and week one, what needs to happen? Where do you guys need to improve the most in order to be ready for that first matchup this year?
Well, I think definitely, our offensive line, we have graduated 3 guys, a couple went to go on and play some college football. And so we got some spots to fill there, and we have some young talent that I think can do it. We just need time to gel and mesh and to get those guys going. So we had a good first step this past scrimmage, and we're looking forward to the next 2. Sam Spicer, a sophomore. Nate Webb's a sophomore. We have a senior who's stepping up, and Cade Bumgardner, another sophomore, and Will Johnson. So we have some talent there, but they just don't have the experience yet. So we need to make sure that that's a key part we're looking at in our scrimmages, and making sure that those guys are kind of meshing together as an offensive line.
Pope Prep opens up their season at Hillsboro August 19th. Their home opener against Pure Youth Alliance in week 2. And then, of course, week 3, September 2nd at Father Ryan for the Bishop's Cup. Always fun. Coach Sneed, thanks so much for being here tonight.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
All right, let's talk to quarterback Kenny Minchie here on 104.5 The Zone, representing Pope Prep, the Pit commit. But, man, that Bishop's Cup, one of those rivalries.
That's right.
In Middle Tennessee.
It's one of my favorite rivalries to broadcast every year. A strong candidate, we'll say at this point, Lucas, for the 104.5 The Zone high school football game of the week. So who's to say whether or not we will be in attendance that day or not? But as always, we reveal our high school football game of the week every Friday of where we will be going the next week. So we'll have to stay tuned to find out whether or not we will be in the building that day.
Yes, and of course, the final segment of today's show at about 8:45, Tate Mathews will join us, and we will let you know where we are headed for week 1 as Pope Prep quarterback Kenny Minchie joins us now, the Pittsburgh commit. Kenny, how you doing, man? Appreciate you being here.
Yes, sir. I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Just tell me about this offseason and the difference between your offseason before senior year and before junior year. What's the most noticeable difference to you as you go into your final year of high school football?
I'd say, like my coach said, going into this offseason, throughout this offseason, just my leadership, taking a big step in that just because I'm a little bit older and matured a little bit more. So I say that was probably a big step.
I know you got that experience at the Elite 11 this past offseason, getting to play with some of the best quarterbacks in the country. What was that experience like? What was the biggest thing you learned from that trip?
Yeah, I'd say I learned just to not so much compete with other people, but just compete with yourself. And like you said, it was a great experience, great coaching, great competition. So just an overall great experience.
Who were some of the guys you kind of got to know? You have any friends from now across the country from other quarterbacks you met there?
I'd say my roommate, Ricky Collins, he was, at the time, a Purdue commit. I'd say I probably connected him with him the most just because he was my roommate. But then I also knew a couple other guys from there.
So yeah, we've talked about the communication, the leadership. As far as your game, in certain throws, certain plays, what else have you really kind of focused on? Is there anybody specifically outside of some of those wide receivers in Colin Cook, Elijah Robb that we've mentioned that you've been working a lot with this offseason?
Yeah, I'd say outside of Colin Cook, my main receiver from last year, Josh Maylander. He's a new kid. He just moved from California in January, and him and Colin kind of have the same play style. And so now it'll be two of them on the offense, so that'll be big.
So going back to 2020, you lead Pope Prep to their first ever win over Montgomery Bell Academy. And then at the end of last season, you get your program's first ever win over Brentwood Academy in the Division II AAA state quarterfinals. How special is that to get to play in both of those environments, but get to come out on top against those two programs like you've been able to do?
Yeah, it was great just from all the history that I hear about from the school, and to go out and actually do it, especially for NBA. That was definitely big for the school. And then for Brentwood Academy, we had played them in the same game the year before, and we had a tough loss against them, so it was great to beat them the next year.
Pope Prep quarterback, future Pitt Panther Kenny Minchie with us on 104.5 The Zone. Kenny, you've been committed since April. Was that purposeful for you to get that out of the way before even the first or even the summer before your senior season, or did that not really have any impact on the timeline of your commitment?
No, I'd say it was just the time I felt most comfortable, and just the great relationship I had with the coaches up there. I just felt it was the right time.
So what is that relationship like for you up at Pitt? Why Pittsburgh?
I'd say great coaches. Coach Narduzzi, their head coach, he's a great coach, obviously, and Coach Signetti, their OC, he has some NFL experience, so I want to be coached by someone who can try to get me to the next level. And their quarterback coach, Coach DiBiaso, me and him talk casually, probably every day, every other day, so it's just great to have a good relationship with him.
So I imagine that on the recruiting questionnaire for Pittsburgh, did you have to be named Kenny to play at the quarterback position at Pittsburgh, with Kenny Pickett, of course, going to the NFL? Like, it can't hurt, right?
Yeah, it can't hurt. Yeah,
Same colors. I mean, the blue and the gold. Come on.
Yeah, Keaton up there this year. It's close enough.
Yeah. On Twitter, the fans will kind of joke about that a little bit, so I get a kick out of it. So it's pretty funny.
Yeah, you're gonna wear the gloves like Kenny Pickett did too?
No, sir, no gloves.
No fake slide either.
Maybe a fake slide. Let me throw it in there.
Kenny Minchie of Pope Prep with us on 104.5 The Zone. Kenny, thanks so much, man. Good luck to you 2.5 weeks from now.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
They open up the season against Hillsborough on the road.
That's going to be a good one. And we mentioned the Bishop's Cup, one of the better rivalries in Middle Tennessee. We are looking forward to following the Knights. Coach Sneed, always fun to catch up with these guys heading into the 2022 season.
Coming up next, the Ravenwood Raptors. Head coach Will Hester. He has quarterback Chris Parson with him. We've got 2 schools to go in our 2022 high school football media night on 104.5 The Zone. We'll be right back. 2022 high school football media night. Up next, the Ravenwood Raptors. Lucas Panzica with you alongside Will Boling tonight. Robert Walsh, our producer. Brett Batchelor making it happen on the digital side of things. And we are brought to you by Puckett's Grocery tonight, a homegrown company with deep roots in Middle Tennessee that has long supported events and athletics in the area, including high school football. We appreciate them feeding us tonight as Ravenwood head coach Will Hester joins us next on 104.5 The Zone. You get some of that, Puckett's?
Absolutely. It's wonderful.
Yes, sir. Fantastic.
It's good stuff right there. That's good Middle Tennessee food from Puckett's. We really appreciate them. Appreciate you guys at Ravenwood. We've seen a lot of Ravenwood over the past couple of years. Saw you guys beginning of the season, the end of the season last year, that week 1 game against NBA, the 6A quarterfinals. Where do you feel like your team grew the most from the first time we saw you to the end of the season last year?
Well, to be honest with you, I hope we don't see you guys.
Yeah. I think,
we only lost 3 games last year, and y'all were 2 of them.
That's right.
So,
sorry about that.
Please
I'm no
stay
math
away
major.
from us.
That's 67% right there.
Yeah, so I would prefer if y'all didn't show up this year. No offense, but that's just what I would prefer. No,
fair.
I mean, we graduated a bunch of guys. You know, we had Miles Pollard going on to Michigan, Lee Millette going to UConn, and then Carter Miller, our big offensive lineman, moving on as well. So, I mean, obviously we got some guys to replace, but you know, the game now is quarterback driven, right? And we have what we feel like is the best one around. You know, obviously one of the best ones in the country, and you know, Chris does a wonderful job leading our football team, both in the huddle and outside the huddle, and has since the day that he got here, you know, a February or so ago. So, you know, excited to see where this team goes. I like the identity of our team right now because, you know, last year we may have had a team full of stars maybe, and, you know, when a play needed to be made, they look to those guys to have to make the play. You know, from what we've seen through the summer, what we've seen through 7-on-7s, you know, the cast of characters, especially on the offensive side, you know, it's almost a no-name group, but they're all stepping up and making plays. You know, we don't have that one guy that we've got to try to force the ball into. Chris is able to do what he does best and create things, and then, you know, all 4 or 5 of those guys are stepping up and making plays.
And we've talked about this before, but on air and off air as well, that obviously you love having a 4-star quarterback like Chris Parson. You love having the weapons you had a season ago. Those state championship teams so often defined by the lunch pail guys, so to speak, right? The guys that maybe aren't playing college football, playing FCS football, that aren't going to be at a Power 5 program. Who are some of those guys that you've seen really step up this offseason and put themselves in more prominent roles coming up this fall?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the running backs, both our running backs last year had great years. Carter Pace and Cartua Chapman. You know, Carter Pace is kind of probably the epitome of what we want a practice player to look like. You know, every single rep that he takes in practice, he's going to finish 20 or 30 yards downfield. There's always a burst. It's always a physical run. You know, even when we're thudding or tagging off on him, he's finishing runs. And, you know, so he's kind of leading our team from that position. And he's only a junior. He was a sophomore last year, going to be a junior. His brother stepped up the wide receiver position, Colton Pace. Sam Wolf is another receiver that we've seen kind of step into that role. And, you know, Chris has kind of nicknamed that group the Ninjas, right? They're all kind of, they look the same. If you put a board on all their heads, they look identical. You know, their stature's almost exact the same. You know, a bunch of Julian Edelman type guys running around out there. And, you know, they've played very, very well for us. Went down to Hoover to the National 7-on-7 tournament there, and they played well and, you know, kind of, you know, built that camaraderie with Chris on the offensive side.
Ravenwood High School head coach Will Hester with us on 104.5 The Zone, his second year and his second stint at Ravenwood. So, Coach, what kind of opportunity lies ahead here in 7-6A? Obviously, with Summit's region last year with that senior class absolutely loaded, the Wade twins just headlining it. But now you look at this region, and it kind of feels wide open a little bit. And here you are with the returning starter at quarterback in Chris Parson, one of the more dynamic athletes in Middle Tennessee. What kind of opportunity lies ahead for the Raptors?
I mean, you know, we consider an opportunity to write our own story, right? Each and every week that we play is going to be a chapter in whatever story that we're trying to write. And, you know, the key for us is to take it one game at a time, not get ahead of ourselves. Our league has proven to be a very difficult one over time. And now that it's paired up directly with Memphis in the first round, you know, you're going to see some very dynamic matchups in the first round of playoffs, whether it's with a Collierville team or a Germantown team or Whitehaven like we had in the first round last year. So, you know, you want to set yourself up to be successful. The way the bracket is set up this year, the region champ out of our league is going to have the opportunity to host 3 or 4 home playoff games, depending on how that kind of goes. So, you know, you want the playoffs to have to come through you. In order to do that, you got to handle business. But we have a very difficult schedule. We consider our schedule one of the toughest in the states, opening up with NBA, followed by BGA on Thursday night. We lose Life Christian in week 4, a team out of Virginia, and pick up a small team called Oakland that a few people have heard about. So 6 of our first 7 games are at home this year. So we go on the road in week 3. That's the only one in the first 7 that we will have to get on the bus and go to. So we'll know a lot about our team after the first 4 weeks of the season, and we're excited to write our own story.
I mean, we saw firsthand the impact Lee Mollett had last year on the offensive side of the ball, the connection he developed with Chris Parson really from the jump. Now he's a UConn Husky, as you say. So what's the effort been like of replacing that production?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be by committee, but I think the committee is there. I think the committee is strong. So we're very excited about the guys that we have in those positions. You're going to hear some names, like I mentioned before, Colton Pace and Sam Wolf and Ben Hubbard and Ethan Smith and Max Kemple, a bunch of guys, right? A bunch of dudes, if you will, but those dudes can all play ball.
Defensively, who is kind of the alpha of that group leading you into 2022 this year?
Yeah, well, we're very blessed to return almost all 7 in the front. So definitely got to replace some guys in the back end with Miles Pollard going on to Michigan, Isaac Rollins going on to play at Harvard. But we've got guys with some experience there because I don't know if you remember, Miles didn't play against NBA. So we had some guys that had to step into those roles, and they've got experience playing back there. So, but the box is going to be the strength of our team. I would say, Drake Steinwerk is kind of the leader of that group, but very strong on the D-line with outside linebacker Tanner Shuck, and we can play 6 different guys on the defensive front of us, our 3-down guys, and all of them have strong motors.
Last year, coming back to Ravenwood High School after spending time away, did you ever kind of get a moment, whether it was in game or practice or at any point during the season, where you kind of were able to sit back and reflect and kind of take a deep breath and say, I'm back. I'm back home at Ravenwood. When did that moment kind of happen for you through the season and through that entire campaign last year?
I mean, I don't know if you've ever called a game at Ravenwood High School, but there's probably not a prettier place for the sun to go down
Absolutely
on a Friday
right.
night.
Yeah.
Up on the top of that hill, the sun going down behind the hills there, and we've been blessed. I think we haven't lost many games at home over the course of the 4 seasons that I've been there, and so that's a pretty special place. So I would say sunset on a Friday night, one of those weeks, that kind of struck as being back home.
Unbeaten at home in 2021, and the Raptors will look to keep that up starting in week 1 against NBA on August 19th.
Coach, one last one for me. We're going to talk with your quarterback, Chris Parson, here in a minute, but where have you seen him take the biggest step forward from when he got here last season to this year going into his senior campaign?
Well, he was a dynamic leader from the day that he stepped on campus, in February 2 off seasons ago. He took control of the team in what quite possibly was the first 45 minutes of being here. So he's always had kind of the it factor. Always been a super creative guy that can do special things with his arms and his legs. But I would say the place where he's taken the most growth is he can literally coach our offense. Every position, whether it be the left guard or the slot receiver or the tailback, we've put a lot more on him. He's checking protections now. He's doing lots of different things. Coach Duncan, our offensive coordinator, does a great job of basically quizzing him each and every day on, hey, if the safety rotates this way, where's the ball going? And, Chris, without hesitation, can answer all those questions. So from, I would say, the mental portion of the game, he's always been super smart and loved watching film. But now he can literally coach the entire offense.
If you want to put him on the spot here, just text me something, and we'll quiz him right now because we're about to talk to Chris Parson. So you just do that if you want to, Coach. I'll leave that up to you.
All right, I'll shoot you something good.
Appreciate the time, Coach Hester. Thanks so much. He is Will Hester of the Ravenwood Raptors. Again, year 2 of stint number 2 at Ravenwood High School as we get ready to talk to his senior quarterback, Chris Parson. Of course, a 4-star prospect, another one of those Elite 11 quarterbacks joining us here on 104.5 The Zone.
And pretty cool to have 2 quarterbacks back-to-back that we have talked to today who are a part of the Elite 11 as Chris Parson joins us. Chris, what's going on, man? How are you?
Nothing much. Just happy to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. It is great to have you here. What was that experience like, Elite 11? What's the biggest thing you learned?
Man, had a great time in Los Angeles, being with the top quarterbacks in the nation. One of the biggest things that I learned there was, we have a long way to go, and it's always room for improvement. Being there, one of my mentors was Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud. I got to talk a lot with them. And just being around Bryce and just learning from him giving me advice, I kind of learned, hey, even he has a lot of work to do, and he's still working and things like that. So that kind of gave me a little motivation there, and I'm glad I got that opportunity.
I imagine you could do a lot worse than being mentored by the reigning Heisman Trophy winner. That is for
Yes,
sure.
sir. Yes, sir.
I'm sure those two guys that you kind of model your game after as you go into your senior season. But who else do you watch, whether it's in the league now, whether it's somebody in the past, maybe it's someone else that you've been able to talk with personally? Who do you model your game after?
Yeah, well, I look a lot at Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers. I like to look at Tom Brady as well. I looked at a little Matthew Stafford this year, being with the Rams his first season. I like how he played. But yeah, Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, those are normally the guys that I look at and try to study and try to implement some of their game into mine. So.
Ravenwood quarterback Chris Parson with us on 104.5 The Zone. Chris, we got the chance to see your first and last game of the 2021 season last year. Unfortunately, they were both losses, but you could see your development right in front of your eyes from week one to that final week of the season at Summit High School, just your comfortability in the pocket alone. So when you look at your development over the course of the season, how different was the player we saw in week one versus the player we saw at the end of the year when you guys had won 10 of your last 11 games?
Yeah, well, I would say it was a big difference. Coming into Ravenwood, I had to do a lot of learning, at the beginning of the year. I didn't really get, too comfortable, until around like week 7, week 8. So, the first half of the season, it was a lot about me just learning, trying to get acclimated, getting comfortable inside the offense. Luckily, Coach Hester and Coach Duncan, they helped me out a lot, and I grew a lot as the season went on, and, I saw progress as the season went on, and it was great. So, I'm looking forward to this year.
In the midst of this recruiting process, as you're kind of reevaluating your options, right, decommitting from Florida State,
Yes,
what's
sir.
been the biggest difference for you as far as what you thought the recruitment process was going to be like and what it actually has been like?
Well, yeah, it's changed a lot since my freshman year, when I kind of started gaining offers and, with NIL and, other things, you never know what, could be next for college football, So really at this point, I'm just trying to find the best fit for me. I visited a few schools, and, it's just about me finding the best fit for me, somewhere where I can see myself prospering for the next 3 to 4 years.
Who are you hearing from right now? Who is kind of high on your list as you start this process going into your senior year?
Well, I've been talking a lot with TCU, Mississippi State, Cal Berkeley, SMU, and it's a few more, but, I'm very appreciative, of them reaching out to me and recruiting me and things like that. It's a great problem to have, as a high schooler, trying to decide what school you want to go to. So I'm thankful for this process, and I'm just enjoying it. But, the main goal for me is just getting ready for the senior season. So
Region 7-6A, one of the toughest regions of the state of Tennessee at any classification. You guys start with NBA. You got Oakland in there. How much do you guys look forward to playing what I think is probably the toughest schedule in Tennessee high school football this year?
Yeah, no doubt. I'm looking forward to it, man. These are the type of games that, you live to play in. I'm super excited. Big first game of the year. Like you said, playing Oakland week 4. So I'm super excited. I'm just glad I get to have this opportunity and go out with a bang my senior year.
You guys get a lot of big home games. Of course, you get Oakland at home. You get NBA at home. You get Brentwood back at home this year. That Battle of the Woods game we called last year, one of you guys' wins in that rivalry again. What was it like playing in that rivalry for the first time?
Man, it was awesome. That was actually my first ever rivalry game. I played in some big games in Texas, but I never played in a rivalry game. So, that Battle of the Woods, the build-up, throughout that week, Wilco, they do a great job, promoting games and things like that. And so I knew it was going to be big when we arrived to the stadium because the student section was already full. Brentwood student section was full.
It was.
Ravenwood student section was full. And so I was pretty excited, going out there, our first drive, scoring that touchdown, running through the back of the end zone, seeing all the Brentwood fans lined up, it was a great feeling. And, I'm glad I got that W, and I'm looking forward to playing that game again this year.
So, Chris, could you tell us for sure, is it Battle of the Woods or is it Battle of the Wood? There's a lot of debate about this.
I say Battle of the Woods.
Okay,
so
you heard it here first. Breaking news on 104.5 The Zone.
Yes, sir.
Chris Parson, the quarterback of the Ravenwood Raptors, has been our guest. Chris, thanks so much, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
That's
2.5 weeks. Ravenwood takes on Montgomery Bell Academy to kick off their season. They open up region play on the road at Franklin to take on the Admiral. So this is the 2022 104.5 The Zone High School Football Media Night presented by Puckett's Groceries. We bring Donaldson Christian Academy up to the stage here from the 104.5 The Zone studios. Head coach Paul Wade set to join us. Another set of defending champs here, Will.
That is right. A 31-7 win over Nashville Christian in the Division II Single-A State Championship game. Ashton Jones, the running back, who is going to join us here in a couple of minutes as well. Want to thank again Puckett's Grocery for being our sponsor tonight of High School Football Media Night. a homegrown company, deep roots in Middle Tennessee. They have long supported events and athletics in this area. The fruit tea, the pulled pork. They've got pancakes here for us, for our coaches, for our kids that are hanging out with us for high school football media night. So appreciate their support and appreciate DCA Wildcats head coach Paul Wade, who sits down with us now. Coach Wade, great to have you on with us tonight. How are you?
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having us. I told one guy back there, I don't know if you say me because I'm the oldest or the best looking. Be last.
Both.
Absolutely. So talking about last season, that win over Nashville Christian to win that state championship, as you reflect on last year, the identity, the personality of that team, what makes you the most proud when you think of that group specifically?
That's a tough question because I've been asked that probably 100 times from the playoffs when they started last year to even after the championship game. And I told it at our banquet. And probably the 7 kids that were there in 2018 when I first got there, we went 0-10. We were no good. They knew it. Not one kid had played a snap of a high school game. Our first game, we actually had 22 spots, and that was their first starting action in a high school game. I had no idea what I was getting into, but it turned out to be a great year. And for those 7 kids to hang on, and then we added 8 along the way, and to finish up with 15 kids, last year was a storybook ending, especially for those seniors to go out from where they started as freshmen to playing in Chattanooga in the state championship game.
I think that's the most unique part of it, right? Seniors whose first season was literally winless and whose final season ended in a state championship, a pinnacle of what you can do at the high school football level. What was the most rewarding aspect of that journey in your 4th year to be able to accomplish that after the start to your tenure?
Well, anytime you have kids that listen to you, you feel like you've accomplished something as a coach. And my big thing, I coach the offensive line, and my big thing, not only for the guys that I coach, but also for the team, is Monday through Thursday, is what makes Friday. And for us to, for our kids to embrace Monday through Thursday, I would rather have Monday through Thursday 10 times over Friday nights. Now, I know Friday nights are for the kids. But once our kids believed that Monday through Thursday was the most important thing, it made Fridays easy. And when Fridays become easy, they can play a lot faster. All these guys you've had up here tonight, this is apples and oranges. I mean, we have 27 kids on our team. Every kid plays both ways. They're on every special team. A lot different than some of the guys you've talked to. So for those guys to do that and then to buy in about the preparation to make Friday easy, that senior group got it, and when they got it, we rolled.
So let's look to the future here and looking on the field in 2022. What's the process been like of replacing Bradford Gaines at quarterback?
It's been challenging. Bradford did a great job for us, and I'm so proud of him. He's up at Lindsey Wilson. He said in a quote, which I thought was one of the greatest quotes as a high school quarterback I think I'd ever heard. He said, "My last snap was taking a knee in the state championship game," and that was for a kid who came to a program when we were started 0-10, and he was like, "What have I done?" Grew up with his dad and convinced him to come over, and so Bradford was a special kid for us in many ways. Mitchell Carey, a sophomore, coach's son, it's his turn. We only have one, so we protect him in every facet of everything that we do, and that's just the challenge that we go through, different than the other guys. But I think Mitchell's he had a great week last week in our scrimmage, and it's going to be exciting to see how he steps up after being under Bradford for a couple of years, because he saw him as a middle school player as well, and we're excited to see what he can do.
Talk about having 27 kids, having a smaller roster than some of the other teams that we've talked to tonight. I imagine everybody knows everybody. It's not like the offensive lineman is blocking for a guy, or the second string offensive lineman, doesn't know the starting quarterback. How cool is that to kind of have that camaraderie? Have I imagine a pretty tight knit group that you guys have.
Well, they can be, and our guys last year, they prided themselves on being tight knit. It's going to be challenging this year to watch what this team does, right, and to see how they come together. Because anytime in a locker room, you don't know the dynamics. We do have our freshmen in a separate locker room. Don't want a 13-year-old walk around with an 18-year-old, because there's different topics they talk about. And but it is unique that every kid participates in practice. There's nobody standing. I told a coach we got here today that one of our coaches was playing free safety today in practice and didn't pedal very well because he had on flip-flops, and the quarterback missed the read, and I'm ticked off because the quarterback didn't get the read because the coach couldn't get out of the way. So that's the kind of stuff we deal with. That's what makes it fun, and you know, our kids are up to the challenge. We challenge them to learn 2 positions for depth purposes, and if we didn't, you know, it would create a problem when somebody went down, whether it was for just a couple of days or whether it was for an extended period of time. So it's going to be exciting to see how these guys come together. But to answer your question, yeah, they know everything about everybody.
Absolutely. Running back Ashton Jones is with us here, too. Give me the scouting report on him. Coming from a football family, his dad, Jody Jones, goes on to play at Vanderbilt, DCA standout as well. Tell me about what makes your running back special.
Jody's dad actually still holds our school record for total tackles.
Wow.
Back in 88, 89 on the first state championship team. And Ashton's an offensive guy, where Jody was a defensive guy. But he's our bell cow. I mean, when he went last year, we went. Now, obviously, he had a great group of guys around him. He had an unbelievable offensive line. A couple of those guys have gone on to play at the next level. But as he goes, we go. And as a sophomore, getting to step up in that role last year and with a senior-laden team, he kind of had to earn his way. Because there were some other guys we could have put back there, and obviously with his work ethic and his work ethic in the weight room, what he does out of season, and then how hard he practices, those kids embraced him as our guy. So we're excited to have him back. We have a good group in front of him, led by senior David Lyles and L.J. Tolbert. We're excited. Connor Thomas. We're excited to see where Ashton steps up again to see what we can do for a team that's not as have as much depth as last year.
And we're looking forward to talking to him right now on 104.5 The Zone. Coach Paul Wade, thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, that is Paul Wade of Donaldson Christian Academy as we get set to talk to Ashton Jones. A huge role leading the Wildcats to their first state title since 2004. 1,771 yards, 25 touchdowns on 227 carries. And DCA opens their season August 19th at home against Middle Tennessee Christian.
And we are now joined by running back Ashton Jones. What's going on, man? How are you?
Good. How about you?
We're doing good. Grateful to have you with us to talk about last season, talk about this upcoming season. How much fun you guys have last year? How much fun is it playing for an offensive line coach who is your head coach and Coach Wade?
Yes, sir. I mean, it was really fun because I've known those guys for so long, and we were driven off of Coach Wade. And last year, like he said, we bought into what he told us, and as soon as everyone was able to buy into what he said, it just clicked for us. So.
We're talking about that tight-knit group that you guys had last year. How is the personality of this team in 2022? Maybe a little bit different? How tight are you guys going into this year?
Very. I mean, obviously the upper class, we're all really, really close. But it's getting the freshmen, the younger guys, we got to get them to believe. Obviously, if you were a freshman and you were coming to a team that just came off a state title run, you would be thinking it's just going to happen again but we're trying to get them to buy in that it's way harder than that.
So I want to take you back to your freshman year, playing behind Birmingham Southern signee John Lewis back that year, a Division II Single A Mr. Football finalist. You saw a little bit of time, playing behind him, getting some reps that first year as well. What did you learn from him? How cool was that to kind of get to play behind another really good back wearing that blue and gold?
It was very cool. Actually, me and John still talk to this day. We talk a lot, actually. I'm pretty sure I talked to him just last week, asking me how practice went. And, I always ask him how his practices go. And it's really exciting. He taught me a lot that I needed to know. He humbled me in certain areas that I needed to know heading into high school. So it was a blessing from God to be able to learn from him.
This is kind of uncharted territory for you guys as a unit, right? Going from scratching and clawing for the dream of winning a state title, and now you're defending champs. How have you dealt with that mentality shift in the locker room as a leader and an upperclassman?
Well, we had to tell everyone, that it's not easy. It doesn't come easy. You have to buy in. And a lot of guys on the team, they're the upper class, especially that senior class, obviously went 0-10 one year. They work harder than anyone I know. And it's really inspiring to everyone in the locker room and in the weight room. Everyone feeds off that energy. So I feel like it's just everyone feeds off of that.
Ashton, last thing for me, and we appreciate you joining us, man. We were talking off the top about that regular season finale last year against Nashville Christian, 7-3 in the cold, rain, mud. One of those games where if you've got a white jersey, that thing is not white by the end of it if you're playing more than 5 snaps. it feels like those types of games are either the best, the most fun to play in, or the absolute worst to play in. What was that for you?
I think it was the best because, obviously the starters, we're usually out after one series, third quarter, because when you're up by so much, there's no need to stay in. But that was really, besides Silverdale earlier in the season, that was the first game of the year where we had to stay in the whole time, stay focused, can't let loose, don't get off track. And we were able to stick together, and, we had a really good week of practice that week and get us the W. So,
Ashton, quick hit on the way out. The number one thing you're working on individually this season?
Being more of a leader. Felt like I could be a leader last year, but this year it's more important than ever. And if I can lead these guys and get them to believe what Coach Wade's feeding us, then it's gonna be a special year, just like last year.
He is Aston Jones of the DCA Wildcats, looking to defend a D2 Single A state championship. Ashton, thanks so much, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And that does it for our coaches and our players.
That's right.
In the 2022 104.5 The Zone High School Football Media Night, but we are not quite done.
No, we are not, and we have one more man who is going to here in a moment. He is Tate Mathews. You can hear him every single weekend here on 104.5 The Zone, talking with some of these coaches and some of these programs right here on The Zone for high school sports Saturday. And, Lucas, we reveal our Week 1 game of the week coming up.
That's coming up next. It's 104.5 The Zone's High School Football Media Night. Tate Mathews on the other side. Sauces and seasonings are currently on sale at all 6 of their locations and online at pucketsgro.com. Lucas Panzica alongside Will Boling tonight, finishing things up after talking to 6 different programs, coaches, and players, previewing high school football's kickoff 2.5 weeks from today on August 19th. And we finish things up with one Tate Mathews, who you hear each and every Saturday morning right here on 104.5 The Zone. Tate, good evening.
What's up, fellas? Good to see you all. Listen to you on the way in. Sounded great. Great lineup tonight. We're pretty close, man. We're a couple of weeks away. I'm excited.
Yes, we are.
And we are going to reveal our Week 1 104.5 The Zone Game of the Week coming up here in just a couple of minutes. But first, Oakland, Lipscomb, Green Hill, Pope Prep, DCA, and Ravenwood. That is a really good handful of 6 teams that we've gotten to talk to tonight. Just a lot of experience, the new programs. I feel like we had a good variety tonight of different styles of programs, different kinds of coaches, and a lot of football intelligence in this building here today.
No doubt about it, and I like the way you all, I think you had a great mix, of the different divisions, and it's pretty cool. A lot of state championship rings in this room.
Yeah.
Come through here tonight, but it's pretty neat. They're all kind of unique, right? Coach Hester, Coach Wade, they're all Coach Dilford. They've all got them, but kind of unique, So that's what's pretty neat. There's more than one way you can do this, but all those guys are they're fun to listen to. You usually learn something, listen to them, but my favorite part is listening to the kids, man.
Yeah.
I mean, to be 16, 17 years old, and I know I couldn't have done that when I was their age. So that's my favorite part is the kids.
It is pretty cool to have 2 Elite 11 quarterbacks with us here today, too, and Kenny Minchie and Chris Parson, who we have heard from here in hour number 2. I got to imagine it's been a minute since you've had this much quarterback talent in one class, throwing in Marcel Reed of NBA, Brock Glenn over on the other side of the state in West Tennessee at Lausanne. Pretty incredible, the talent at the quarterback position in the class of 2023 this year.
Yeah, that's been the knock for a while, but yeah, we've got you got 3 right now that can go anywhere in the country. And full disclosure, I saw Chris Parson the other night. I let him know if he wanted to go to Eastern Kentucky University. As you all know, I'm a big fan. I could arrange it. He said, "Hey man, I got an official offer today." I said, "Well, I can probably broker you a starting position." We talked for a while. I
Get
think
an NIL deal in there.
Yeah, man. Apollo's Pizza. I think he was kind of. I don't know. I think he left with something to think about. So we'll see. Maybe he'll be a Kern.
Get Walt Wells on the line. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, Coach Wells will be on board with that 100%.
Absolutely, I'd say so.
Tate, before we announce our Week 1 destination for the Zone Game of the Week, shining a little bit of a light on programs we did not get the chance to talk to today. Who's at the top of your mind when you're talking about the most intriguing programs for the 2022 season in Middle Tennessee?
Well, you had some of them here.
Yeah.
But, I think in 6A, Oakland's been until, kind of Ric Flair was here the other night, right? Until to be the man, you got to beat the man.
That's right.
So till somebody beats Oakland, I'll believe it. But I'm really excited about Riverdale. Talked to a couple of people that have scrimmaged them and then are getting ready to scrimmage them. Man, I had an opposing coach tell me the other day the defense looks like the 85 Bears, man. So
pretty good.
Coach Kreisky's really developing, and he's come into his own as a head coach. He's got a new offense coordinator from Saudi Daisy. They got a quarterback in there that can fling it. But defensively, man, and apparently Elijah Herring has taken another step forward. So
Caleb Herring.
Right. His brother is Elijah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tennessee fans very interested in what Riverdale does this season, that's for sure.
Man, supposedly they can fly around on the defensive side of the ball. So I'm excited to see, can Riverdale knock off Oakland? I mean, there's a lot of stories, but if that can happen, I don't know that there'll be a bigger story than that.
It's going to be good. And we are going to start off the year, Tate, with a great matchup at one of the best atmospheres for high school football in Middle Tennessee. I have called a game at this place. In fact, it is 3 years ago today when we opened up Week 1 at this home of high school football. We are headed, ladies and gentlemen, drum roll please, to the green wave of Gallatin High School. It will be Gallatin and Mount Juliet, a 5A matchup. Gallatin, Mount Juliet, 2 powerhouse programs, 2 very traditional programs in Middle Tennessee. We're looking forward to that leading off our season in 2022.
I think that's a great one. You had a lot to choose from. I think that's a great one. So much tradition at Gallatin. and you're getting ready to see a couple of really good players. The Merriweather kid at Gallatin.
That's right.
He's, it's easy to forget. He's just going to be a junior. I think Coach Watson said he's up over 215 pounds now. He's going to be a big time recruit. I don't know if you remember, they put the flex bone in.
That's right.
You haven't heard that. Jerry DiNardo fans or non-fans probably remember that name, but they put the flex bone in June. And so this game last year, Gallatin turned the ball over 6 times. I don't think they're going to turn the ball over 6 times this year. So it's going to be fun to watch. Luke Cook, towards the second half of the season, became the quarterback, and they developed a little bit of a passing game. So even though they're wanting to run it, Gallatin can pass it a little bit better. Mount Juliet, very, very dynamic on the skill position. They can hit a lot of home runs. So that and you two are probably a little too young to remember this, but you might have heard about it. Gallatin, Mount Juliet, that used to be a huge rivalry.
Big time.
People will tell you high school football in the mid-state, one of the greatest games ever. Gallatin beat Mount Juliet one year 2-0. All right. So make no mistake about it. Gallatin doesn't like Mount Juliet, and Mount Juliet does not like Gallatin.
We'll be there.
You're going to have a great atmosphere.
And it is a 5A, 6A matchup to start 2022. We are looking forward to that. We are looking forward to the 2022 season on 104.5 The Zone. With me, Will Boling, Lucas Panzica, Tate Mathews. This is your crew for Friday nights. It's going to be a blast.
Tate, who do we have to thank in the Middle Tennessee community for your help on our coverage of high school football?
Back again this year, the Performance Therapy Institute, Josh Colbert and the crew. Great people. I was in there today, and the place was hopping, man. All kinds of there was rehab going on. We've talked about it. One of the things I love about them from my kids is not only are they reactive when there's an injury, they're very proactive, trying to prevent the injuries from happening, and they do it all. They've got 3 clinics. They've got one in Franklin, Cool Springs, where I go, one in Brentwood, and one in Nashville. You can find them at performnashville.com. The best thing I can tell you about Josh and his crew, they're going to treat your kid, your young athlete, just like they would treat their own, and that means a lot to me. So Performance Therapy Institute, performnashville.com. They'll be with us all year.
Tate, it's a quick visit tonight, the first of many for us this year. We are looking forward to it.
Yeah, man, excited to hear you two. Gallatin, Mount Juliet, it's going to be awesome. Y'all do a great job, and glad to be a part of it again this year.
Appreciate you and appreciate Puckett's Grocery for sponsoring us tonight.
The barbecue is good. The football is going to be just as good. August the 19th is when it all begins. Middle Tennessee high school football is back. This has been 2022 High School Football Media Day on 104.5 The Zone. For Tate Mathews, Lucas Panzica, I'm Will Boling. Good night. We'll see you in a couple weeks.